welcome to My Hero, My Life. Guys, today I am super excited. We got a special guest with us today. We got Turtle Quirk with us all the way from the UK, right?
Yeah, from England, London.
Dude, that is awesome. Super cool. And today we got a little topic we want to talk about, and so we're just super pumped to get into this. Hey, but I want everyone to jump on to Turtle Quirk's page right now. There's a link down in the description, as well as I'm going to have a button right here. Click on that. Go subscribe. Check him out. He is one of the coolest up-and-coming YouTubers right now. Honestly, if I could be anyone right now when it comes to YouTubers, it'd be this guy, because he's on fire. He is lit.
Oh, man,
seriously.
I appreciate
so
that.
Check him out. So today we're going to be talking about what if Deku was All for One's successor. So I want to start off with a question. How would All for One influence Deku into becoming a villain? What do you think about this, Turtle Quirk?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about it, and actually, it would kind of be pretty easy, I think, because although I've said it before, Deku and All Might in My Hero Academia definitely have most of the heart of a hero above any other character. But I think that given that Deku was completely quirkless and had that desire to become a hero, I feel like over time he would become a bit resentful of characters like Kat-chan and Todoroki, because over the years he'll be watching them, perform in the sports festival as he grows older. And obviously in his heart, he still has that desire to be powerful, to, be a hero, and he just can't do it. So I feel like if someone like All for One was to come along with the promise of having unlimited quirks almost, and I guess the idea is that he will pass on his power to Shigaraki in the end, right? So I feel like if he took Deku on as an apprentice, eventually that allure of having the power of All for One to have as many quirks as you want, I feel like Deku at that stage in his life, when he's a bit older, would probably, I think he would be easy to manipulate.
Okay, so you see it more as like, hey, Deku's been turned down from becoming a hero because he doesn't have a quirk, and then essentially enough time passes, like this dude's just like, he's just kind of broken, and
Exactly.
Finally All for One just kind of swoops in and takes him under his wing and says, hey man, I'm promising you almost like unlimited quirks.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the thing, because Deku, we know Deku would have been happy with just one. Like, he waited his whole childhood for one to manifest, and it didn't come until he was 14 or 15. So yeah, I feel like that promise of all that power he could have, it'd be too much to turn down.
Yeah, I like that. I also think that something would have to break inside of him, like his faith in justice, his faith in heroes. Like, what if his mom died, and what if it was because of a villain attack and no one was there to save her? Or more specifically, there were heroes to save her but chose not to. A life-altering event is what I really see, in order for him to swoop in and to manipulate.
Knowing what we know about All for One, like, it wouldn't be a stretch to say, like, just taking what you just said, it wouldn't be a stretch for All for One himself to have, like, manufactured that situation, if you know what I mean. Because, I mean, we saw in Season 3, like, his disciple, or Shigaraki, is the grandson of All Might's master. So that's not a coincidence. Like, whatever happened, he's the one who put that into motion. And so I feel like if something like what you just said happened, it would probably be All for One manipulating the situation in order to break Deku, basically.
Right, yeah. Another thing is he could find a way, just talking about like what you're saying, manipulating a situation, finding a way to manipulate the situation to make All Might look really bad. Because again, he still looks up to All Might. And I would also have to think that at the times he had met and ran into All Might, every time he would have to leave those conversations feeling more disheartened than ever. So like that first time when he says, hey, no, you can't you can't be a hero if you don't have a quirk, he leaves then. Let's say then he runs into him again by the sludge villain later. Let's say that he says, hey, maybe he did run into it, and tried to save Bakugo. And that did push him to go and save Bakugo as well and get rid of the sludge villain. But instead of giving him his quirk, he just, chastised Deku and said, hey man, you need to be careful. And I think that's enough, or at least the start of a build-up against against heroes and All Mights and all those different aspects.
Yeah, that's a dark alternate reality, bro. I don't want to see that I don't want to see that happening.
Oh man, that's funny.
Kind of make a good point there though. Like after that whole situation with the sludge villain, I mean, it's not like All Might was obliged to give his quirk to Deku, if you know what I mean. Like he didn't have to do that. He could have very easily just been like, "Well done, kid," and just gone on with his day, and then gone to UA and given it to Mirio most likely, or whoever else. So yeah, he didn't have to do that, and it would have been very interesting to see how Deku's life would have turned out if that did happen.
Exactly. Well, that makes me think that, hey, if he did become his successor, what makes Deku better than Shigaraki? Like, is there? Yeah. And maybe the answer is he isn't. But what do you think would cause Deku to be a better successor?
I think there's two things that make him a better successor than Shigaraki. The first thing, I think everyone who's seen My Hero Academia can agree with this. Deku has like an unrelenting determination. Like when he has a goal, nothing's going to stop him. Mm-hmm. Nothing. Yep. Not even, he's willing to put his own body, his own life on the line, no matter what the situation is. So I feel like if All For One got in his head and he had a villainous goal, whatever that might be, compared to Shigaraki, he's leagues above, because up until, I'm talking about the anime here, like up until what we've seen in the anime, Shigaraki has been he's been a bit all over the place. He's been like, he lusts for destruction, yeah. But what's his plan? Like, I don't know if did you see episode 2 of season 4 when
right when he's like, dude, you don't have a plan, Overhaul like confronts him. No, exactly, yeah.
Exactly, like Shigaraki, he's all over the place. So I feel like compared to him, Deku is just like so much more laser focused. And actually that was kind of the two things. So the determination is one thing, and then also like that strategic mindset, so having a plan. So I think those are the two things that put him above Shigaraki in my opinion.
Okay. Yeah. You know, the only reason why I could see an argument against this is that Shigaraki already has a really good quirk. And that's probably the biggest argument, as well as we already know, he is the grandson. I'm butchering I can't think of the...
Oh, yeah. Nana Shimura.
Yes, his grandson. And that plays against All Might, which, of course, is one thing that All For One wants to do. Next thing I wanted to ask was, what would set Deku apart as All For One successor compared to Shigaraki? Like, I think you kind of touched on this. Just the fact that he's, what were you saying?
Like more determined. And, yeah.
Another thing is he always has a plan. Like he studies things. Like he doesn't just jump into things. He's not afraid to jump into things, but like he is a very smart individual.
Yeah. In terms of what sets him apart in terms of being All For One successor, I think it actually it depends on how corrupted he becomes, right? Because we know Deku as like I said, one of the most heroic characters in the show. So this is like essentially an alternate reality where he's a completely different person. So depending on how corrupted he becomes, I would say that the thing that sets him apart is that deep down he has a good heart, because we know All For One, he's essentially the symbol of evil. He has no remorse. He has nothing that would allow him to show any mercy to anyone. Whereas we know that the Deku that we know does have a good heart. So I feel like in this alternate reality, the one thing that might set them apart is that deep down, like, he has a little bit of good in him, so he might not go that extra mile or do that extra evil thing that All For One might have done in the same situation, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, no, good point. I like that. What do you think how would this change My Hero Academia? Like, if Deku was his successor, how much different would the show be?
It'd be totally different, man. It wouldn't even look like remotely the same. I think for starters, like, one of the things, I think we mentioned it earlier actually. So Mirio gets one for all. That's the first thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and Deku's presence has been so important to other characters' development in the show. So I feel like if he wasn't there, first of all, Todoroki, like that whole thing, he's not using his fire quirk, at least for the time being. Which might be a pretty big deal in the future, especially when he becomes a pro hero. I think in terms of All Might, because if you remember, the USJ attack in the first season, Shigaraki kind of led that. He was the one who was pushing for that, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what led to All Might basically using up a significant amount of One For All. And so it was that attack that led All Might to use up a bunch of that power, and then obviously we know what happens afterwards. So I feel like if Deku, because Deku's a bit younger than Shigaraki, all that stuff in the first year at least, that wouldn't have happened. Like, Deku isn't charging into the USJ to attack All Might at that age. So I feel like the first 2 or 3 years of these first years joining UA, I actually think that's pretty calm. I don't think the villains would be making that many moves because obviously Deku's younger than Shigaraki. So that also gives Mirio a lot of time to, he would have graduated, he would have had One for All and Permeation together. So he's had time to, cultivate that power. And that would be so overpowered in the first place. Imagine those two powers together. So I feel like Deku, when he becomes the next Shigaraki, essentially, he would be going up against a full-powered Mirio with Permeation and One for All.
Oh my goodness.
He'd be going up against all the Class 1A. They would have probably graduated. So yeah, Todoroki might not be using his Fire Quirk, but Class 1A would have graduated most likely. So his back would be against the wall as a villain here.
No, great points. So do you think that Deku could actually live up to the evil that All for One is?
That is a really good question. I actually, like I said, it depends on how manipulated he has become. But I don't think he could live up to the evil that All for One is, simply because of the fact that All for One is evil itself. Like, All for One embodies evil. Deku doesn't embody evil, and if he ever did, it wouldn't, how to put it, it would have to be manufactured, if you know what I mean. Like, he's not like that naturally. Naturally, he's a good kid, but obviously if circumstances break him down, if people manipulate him, then yes, he could become evil. But because his nature isn't like that, I don't think he could live up to All for One.
Right. Well, I think it goes right back to what we were saying. In order to even be willing to become a villain, he would have to be highly, highly manipulated. There would have to be so many situations that were manipulated to get him to this point. And then the question is would that be enough? And I don't think we can answer that because we don't even know what those situations would be. We know just in real life, enough tragedy happens and anyone can snap. So arguably with that thought process, well, yeah, of course you become nuts and evil. But typically when you snap and go crazy and do some stupid stuff, you're not in the right mind. Yeah. Therefore, I don't know if he could live up to his potential of evil compared to All for One.
Yeah, but it also depends what is his goal, because obviously, like, a lot of villains have different goals. Like Shigaraki, what is his goal right now? It's to destroy everything. All for One, in his prime, what was his goal? It's probably to to rule the criminal underworld, right?
Right.
So I guess if there was an evil Deku in this reality, what is his goal? Because Deku is, like we said before, he's a strategic individual. He has a plan. So if his goal was to, I don't know, take over Japan, I'm sure he could accomplish that, actually. I'm sure he could if he put his mind to it and he gathered the right team. So
yeah. And here's the thing, like, yes, you need to be ruthless to some degree, but it really takes a lot of skill to delegate and to form systems and teams to create that plan, almost just like building a business.
Yeah.
And I do think that Deku is smart enough to do that.
I agree 100%. I mean, we've seen he's almost like a de facto leader, in fact, in Class 1A. Like, in the battle in Kamino, he was the one devising the plan to save Kachan, wasn't he?
Yep. No, exactly. No, that's really good. Really good. Well, hey, man, that's all I got. Do you have any other thoughts on what if Deku was All for One Successor?
No, man, that was all I had for today, but it was really, thanks for having me here.
Yeah, dude, thank you so much for joining again, guys. Hey, if you have not checked out his channel, make sure you go check out his channel, subscribe. Turtle Quirk is just a cool dude. And with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. We will see you guys next time.